Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing something very, very different in celebration of me reaching 20,000 subscribers. Now, I presume quite a few of you watching this video are fairly triggered by the title because it's not exactly Mountain Blade in real life, but we'll get onto the reasons why I called it that later on. But hopefully after watching that intro, you weren't so triggered because I put a lot of time into that intro and I hope you did enjoy it. Now, also, before we move on with any of the video, I'd like to say I actually intended to use Mountain Blade sounds and kind of voices, etc. in that intro because I hoped it would form some kind of subconscious connection between the game and the video. I'm not sure if it really worked. Maybe you noticed it really easily. Maybe you kind of just realized but didn't realize. Anyway, that's the reason why I did that. We're going to be discussing what you saw in that intro in a lot more detail throughout this video, and this is just something that I've wanted to do a video on for ages, and I know for a fact a lot of people, I know a lot of my subscribers and a lot of other people have been saying that my content is becoming a lot less original and I'm kind of not doing my own stuff anymore. It's more to do with me doing like reviews on games and things like that, which I actually really do like doing and will continue to do in a completely new format that I've come up with over the past few hours. And also I'm going to be doing a lot more of this kind of video, not necessarily real life stuff, just a lot more original that has a little bit more time put into it, and hopefully you guys won't have the same kind of thing each video if you're getting my drift. Anyway, let's get on with the explanation to what you just saw in that clip. So what you just saw on screen is called the English Civil War Society. It's a group of reenactors based in the UK, and they reenact and portray the battles between the Parliament and the King in the English Civil War of the 1600s. I think it was around 1640. Now, these huge battles and wars took place during a very unstable time in the UK, where these wars were fought over who would basically control the country. Would it be Parliament or would it be the royalty in terms of the King? Just imagine what that would be like now. Imagine, I don't know, Theresa May. If you live in the UK, you'll know who this is. Imagine Theresa May declaring war on the Queen, and then imagine a war erupting from that. But instead of using automatic weapons, they only had cannons, really long big sticks called pikes that were 16 foot long, cavalry that would have these huge swords that would just smash down. They also would have the dragoons, and they would furthermore have huge blocks of muskets. Imagine a war fought like that. It can get very intense. It was a mixture of melee, it was a mixture of pikemen versus cavalry, it was a mixture of firearms and the balance of artillery, as well as just sieges. There were sea battles every now and again, and basically it was just one of the most interesting wars, I think, of all time in the world, and I'm just really surprised how little people know about it. So today we're going to be exploring it a little bit more, and we're also going to be exploring what these reenactors kind of do and how it works and how that relates to Mountain Blade. And the reason I titled it like this was because in the society of reenactors, regiments actually work very similar to regiments and clans like they do in Mountain Blade. Now, I say this because regiments are formed by people like you and me who kind of are really interested in the time period, and also maybe have a few friends that are also interested in the time period, so they kind of decide to fight together. Now, there are already quite a few of really old regiments that have been around for like 50, 60 years or something ridiculous like that, and a lot of people go to them and are recruited by them, very similar to how people are recruited into regiments in Mountain Blade. So the links are very, very similar, but it's just instead of being virtual, it's in real life, and it does look a lot funner than playing on the computer, I must say. I think this is definitely something that people should just give a go and try and get over the cringe factor of it. If you get over that cringe factor, then I think you might have a lot of fun. Now, that's what I'm trying to overcome personally at the moment, because I don't think I'm actually at the point where I can dress up and take part. Now, there may be people watching this video and are thinking in their brains, how the hell do I get involved in this? It looks really good. Now, personally, I'm not sure if I want to get directly involved just yet. The only reason I might get directly involved is if when I'm filming this this promotional video, that I actually attach some form of GoPro onto my helmet. I'm doing this for a project as well, and it'll be very good for my I guess future job. That's what I'm going to say for now. So if you really like the look of it, you can go down in the description and find the link to the regiment that I'm filming this promotional video for. And all you have to do is contact them through the Contact Us button on their website, and they'll tell you all the information you need to know, whether that's about going ahead and watching these, maybe helping me film it, or even if you want to take part, like I may be will be doing. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that for my 50,000 subscribers if we ever reach it. I would say this is a lot closer to the Mountain Blade Napoleonic Wars DLC. Now, in real life, that time span was 1803 to 1815, whereas the reenactors in this video are actually portraying 1642 to 1641, which was a period of 3 different civil wars, as we talked about earlier on in the video. Now, there's a few things I wanted to say about the society. I think there's around 4,000 members in total, and on the actual battlefield, I think someone told me that there's an estimated, I think, just under 800 people in some of the larger events. And imagine just how amazing that would be, just standing on the field, witnessing kind of what history must have been like. That's just something that I might find really intriguing. So again, if you're interested in getting involved and you like the sound of that, the link is down in the description. And also, I noticed by looking through some of these clips that it's not just the older generation. I thought it'd be very focused on the older generation. But actually, while I was there and actually looking back through these clips, there's a lot of young people. And they actually kind of really seemed interested in it. Maybe the physical side is what attracts them. Maybe it's the history. Maybe it's the social stuff. Who knows? But it's kind of attracting that younger generation and removing that stereotype of reenactors being kind of like those big, fat, bald men fighting each other. It's something really important. For the last part of this video, I'd like to talk about the history of the English Civil War in a little bit more detail. It's probably my favourite part of history in the UK especially, and I think it's one of the best kind of periods of history in the world, because the war was just so unique in itself, and how interesting some of the battles were, and how the whole armies were formed and what developed over time was really interesting. So the actual commanders and leaders of the Royalist army, the main one obviously was King Charles I, who was on the Royalist side, and his son Prince Rupert, and he proved to be a very, very good cavalry commander. Now obviously he was basically beaten. I think the final battle of the war was, I think it was the Battle of Worcester, I think that's how you pronounce it, on the 3rd of September. I can't remember the exact date, but that was a parliamentary victory, and that was kind of the end of the Royalist army. Now, on the other side, you have people such as Sir Thomas Fairfax. Now, Fairfax was the leader of the parliamentarian army, and he was kind of surpassed, or bypassed, I should say, in history, because Oliver Cromwell was the face of the parliamentarians, and he was just the cavalry commander. He wasn't anyone particularly, he was kind of on equals, I guess, with Fairfax, but he kind of took control of the country once the king was beheaded and killed, and obviously Parliament won, and I think they formed some form, they didn't form a royalty, they formed, I can't remember what it's called, I think it was a Commonwealth. Yes, they formed a Commonwealth under Cromwell, which was then abolished after Charles II came back from exile and restored the monarchy. Now, basically, the reason why Cromwell won the war was because Parliament had this new thing called the New Model Army. Now, the New Model Army was something that stopped the regimental system of things in England. So the regimental system worked as in you have on one side, for example, on the Royalist side, you have multiple different regiments consisting of soldiers from different lords. Now, they'd have different names. So you'd have Sir Marmaduke Winchester's regiment, which would wear purple coats, and you've probably seen them a few times throughout the video. You have Lord Hopton's regiment, who wore the blue coats. You have Sir Thomas Tylsey's regiment that wore the white coats, and so on and so on. So those kind of formed the army, and they'd be able to command, they would all be commanded by the king in battle, or a general in overall command of the battle. But they'd be able to do kind of their own thing. Now, Parliament also operated like that for the majority of the war, but towards the end, they decided, what's the point in having loads of different, fairly unorganized regiments when you can just have one big model army? Now, they called it the New Model Army, and this is basically what destroyed the king at one of the most decisive battles called Naseby. Now, this New Model Army kind of showed its worth at the Battle of Naseby. This was after the Royalists stormed the parliamentarian stronghold of Leicester. Now, that is a city in the Midlands, I think. So Fairfax was ordered to lift the siege of Oxford, which was the capital of the Royalists, or the king, because London had been taken by the Parliament already right at the start of the war, because the king was driven out by the largely Parliament-supporting forces in London. So after Fairfax lifted the siege of Oxford, he went and pursued the king's army that was sieging Leicester. So the king was faced with two decisions. Would he retreat north with Fairfax's army close behind, or would he give battle battle, and he basically decided to do battle, and kind of fearing the loss of morale if his army continued to retreat. So after lots of hard fighting, and I mean ridiculously hard fighting of the kind of level of what you've seen in today's video, and the kind of, well, a lot like that, but with people actually wanting to kill each other. But they basically destroyed the royalist force, which suffered 6,000 casualties, which is a lot of casualties, but which is a lot of people. If you think about how many people die in today's wars, you got to think 6,000 casualties, that's a lot. So that was a very decisive battle because Charles lost the bulk of his veteran infantry, and at the time, veteran infantry were very hard to come by because at the start of the war, there wasn't really a proper army as such. There was an army, but it was more like lots of different militias. He lost a lot of his officers and his artillery. So that was a very, very big blow to the royalists, and kind of led to the end of the civil war. After that, Parliament kind of landslided them, and within a year had won the first civil war. So basically the civil wars continued on after that, and eventually King Charles II, after his father being killed, restored the monarchy a few years later. So it was kind of a bit of a swings and roundabouts, and kind of went around in a circle, and the whole war was completely pointless. But that is very normal for war, but you know, that's how it is. So yeah, that's pretty much some history on the English Civil War, and I hope you did enjoy this 20,000 subscriber special. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming up like this. I'm going to be talking history a lot more, and I'm going to be doing loads of things related to history, hopefully, because I'm actually really enjoying it at the moment. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm so happy with 20,000 subscribers. I just feel like I need to make sure that my videos deliver to the quality of what those 20,000 subscribers expect. So again, thank you so much for watching. There's going to be more to come. Hopefully a subscriber battle, but we will see. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching yet again, and I will see you in the next battle.